Hi everyone, I want to try something new with you in this playthrough, and that is to incorporate you, the audience, into the gameplay. So the game that I want to try this method with is Mysterium, which is a cooperative game with two sides. I will be playing one side and you as the audience will play the other, and you can input your moves through the comment section. And I'll talk a little bit about how I would do that later. But first, let me talk about this game a little bit. Mysterium is a co-op game in which one of us play the ghost of a man that was wrongly accused of murder 100 years ago and is now haunting this mansion in which the murder took place. The current owner of the mansion hires a group of psychics to get rid of the ghost by solving the murder. And the owner gives the psychics 1 week to do so. So each night, the ghost would enter the dreams of these psychics to give them clues as to who actually perpetrated the murder, where they did it, and with what weapon. If the psychics can successfully interpret the ghost's clues and clear his name, the ghost can rest at peace and will cease to haunt the mansion, and the psychics would, I guess, get the monetary reward from the owner. So that's the background story. Before I go into how the game plays, let me show you what's in the box. This is the Polish version of the game. So, rulebook. We have a deck of dream cards, a deck of suspects. Actually, this is the deck for the ghost player, so it includes both the location cards as well as the suspect cards, and the deck for the psychics. So these two decks are actually identical in terms of their imagery. We also have these player boards, I guess. This game can play up to 6 players. We have this board here to track the turns. We have 7 days to win the game. This is another small deck of cards for the weapon. And finally, we have some tokens to represent each player. We're playing a 2-player variant where one person plays the ghost and the other person, aka you, the audience, will play 2 characters. So in this playthrough, we'll play, let's say, this character and how about this Sherlock Holmes character. Wrap the corresponding tokens, so yellow and red, and the clock token, and place it at the bottom here. Next, we'll set up the suspects. So we're going to take the deck of suspects, give it a shuffle, and in this game we're playing a difficulty where we'll deal out 6 suspects. You can't really shuffle. These cards are pretty large. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll lay the 6 suspects out here, like so. And next we have the location deck, so again we'll shuffle and then deal out 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again we lay it out. Finally, we take the weapon deck and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, we'll set up the cards for the ghost player. So for each of these piles, let's say the suspect deck, we pick out the same cards. So let's see, we have the Moulin Rouge character. What is this? The Postman. The I guess the watch repairman, I don't know what you call that. Magician, musician, and the criminal looking person. And from here we'll randomly draw 2 cards. These would be the 2 suspects that you have to pick out from the 6. So this one and this one. We're going to do the same for the ghost location deck. Pick up the 6 that are on the table, and then we're going to pick 2. Let's see, let's go with this one and this one. For the weapon deck, pick this one and this one. This is the time track. We're going to put a token on the turn 1, day 1 spot. We're going to shuffle the cards for the ghosts. And then set it aside. I've set up the location, suspect, and the weapon cards for the ghost player. So we have one set for each psychic. And this set here is for the red player, and that set is for the yellow player. The object of the game is to find out who the murderer is, where the murder took place, and with what weapon. Sort of like Clue, but with Dixit types of cards. Now, to do that, you, the audience, would play the the red player and the yellow player. And on each turn, the ghost player will try to go into your dreams to give you clues as to who the suspects, the 2 suspects would be. So the red player is actually trying to figure out one of these suspects, and the yellow player would be trying to figure out the other suspect. So there would be 2 suspects, and after the suspect, location, and weapon is figured out for each set, there would be a phase to figure out who the final culprit is, and I can talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about how to figure out who the suspect is for each player. As you can see, there are 6 possible suspects, and there is one of these suspects would be the one that the red player is trying to figure out, and the other would be the one for the blue. During the phase, the game lasts a total of 7 turns, each of which represent 1 day. Each day, the ghost player will give the psychics clues in the form of dreams. The 7 days are divided into 2 steps: event reconstruction and exposing the true culprit. If the players can successfully complete both steps within 7 days, they win the game. So let's talk about event reconstruction first. During this step, the psychic will determine who was in the mansion at the time of the murder, where each person was, and what they were doing. The psychic cards that are laid on the table represent all the possibilities of who, what, and where, but only a subset of them is the true list of suspects who were present. The ghost player will give each psychic clues about the character, location, and item under the discs of their color. That set is for the red player, and that set is for the yellow player. Each psychic must correctly identify their combo before the group can then move on to this next step, in which they will determine or attempt to determine which of these suspects is the true murderer. So net, you have 6 possibilities here. You're trying to get down to 2 suspects, and then at the end, towards the end of the game, you will try to distill that to the final murderer. Each day consists of 3 phases. The first one is dreaming. The psychics will go to bed, and the ghost player will play some cards from their hand. This is the Polish edition of the game, but I'll actually be playing with the Ukrainian rules because that rule set is known to be a better rule set than the Polish version. So the ghost player in the Ukrainian rules gets 7 of these dream cards. The ghost player will look through them, keeping them hidden from the psychics, and the ghost player can choose 1, 2, 7, so one or all of these cards to give to one of the psychics to give them hints about their character. First, the ghost player will give the player clues about who the suspect is. If the psychic correctly determines who, in the next turn, the ghost player would be able to give clues on where, and after that, what. But we all start with who. The cards that the ghost player could potentially play to the psychic are these types of cards. As you can see, the artwork is quite abstract and can be determined or can be interpreted in many ways. So through these images, the ghost is trying to tell the psychic messages. Let's say the ghost player plays these 2 cards for the red player. So the red player looks at the cards and tries to figure out which suspect the ghost is trying to tell. After playing the 2 cards to the red player, the ghost can draw back up to the hand limit of 7 before determining what kind of cards they want to play to the yellow player. So let's say the ghost plays 1 card to the yellow player. After playing the cards, the players will think about which suspect they want to go with, and let's say yellow goes with that, and red goes with that. That ends the phase of the dreaming, and we go to the next phase where the ghost confirms whether this is the correct choice or not. So the ghost might say yes, no. So if the ghost says yes, this player discards all of the dream cards because they guessed correctly, and they get to move this clock up 1, which means they're on the next turn they will be trying to figure out where the murder took place. The yellow player, let's say he got it wrong, they get to keep this card, so on the next turn the ghost player can try to play more cards to give him clues as to who the suspect is. Finally, the turn marker would go up by 1, which signifies the end of the first turn. Play continues in this fashion until the turn marker goes all the way to 7. If the players haven't figured out who the suspects are by the end, they lose the game. Now, if they do manage to figure out who the 2 suspects are and where the murder took place and with what weapon, we go to the next phase, which is figuring out who the final culprit is. In exposing the final culprit, let's say, for example's sake, that these are the 2 final suspects. The ghost player will take a look at his or her cards, again the hand of 7 cards, and then try to figure out 3 cards which would make the best combination for one of these suspects. So in essence, the ghost player is choosing, based on his or her hand of cards, which of these suspect is the real culprit. The ghost player needs to pick 1 card for the person, 1 card for the location, and 1 card for the weapon. Let's say the ghost player plays these 3 cards. Somehow, these 3 cards would represent a person, location, and a weapon for either set. Now, which one do you think it would be? So the players may say, okay, this is some sort of bathtub in an ocean with a boat. Well, that could mean this guy here who looks like an explorer. He has a map behind him. He has some shells there. So that could be him. And the next one is the location. This looks like a bedroom with lots of blood. Well, that could be this card, Dracula waking up there, and we all know Dracula drinks blood. And finally, we have this card, which looks like some sort of Phantom of the Opera type of guy, and on a train or some sort with a lizard there. Well, I don't know, maybe you could say poison, because maybe lizards are poisonous. So the player might say, okay, I'm going with this. And the ghost player would then reveal, is that correct or incorrect? If it is correct, the player successfully determined who the real culprit is and they win the game. If not, they would get another chance on the next turn. But with two players, it would just mean on the next turn they would get it correct because there's only one remaining choice. But as you can see, if they do run out of time by the end of 7 days, the players will lose the game. In this game, I'll be playing the ghost, and you will be playing the psychic. I'll be playing cards for each player, and you as an audience can determine which suspect I'm referring to. I'll be posting the possibilities, so the 6 possibilities for each type. I'll be posting the possibilities as comments on the video, and the comment that gets the most likes would be the one that I assume majority of people would go with, and that would be the one that we would proceed with. So that's my thought of how we would play the game. Let's see how it pans out. I'll start the game by drawing the 7 dream cards. Now in the real game, the ghost player is not supposed to say anything, but I might be interjecting here and there to explain some rules. I will play a card for the red player, and I will be playing this card. These are the suspects. Because I played that card, I can now draw back up to my hand limit of 7 before I play cards for the yellow player. And I've decided that I would play 1 card for the yellow player, and the card that I'm playing is this one. Once again, here are the suspects. Now that you know what cards I played, it is your turn to tell me who you think I was referring to. In the comment section, I will put several entries. This is card number 1, this is card number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in the comments below, I will write entries like red 1, red 2, red 3, red 4, red 5, and red 6, and same thing with yellow, in total of 12 different entries. And the entry that gets the most like for each of the colors would be the ones that we move forward with. And so in essence, you're liking 2 entries, one for the red player and one for the yellow player, on who you think I meant by each of these cards.